What's going on, guys? Chandler here with the channel today. Coming back to you guys with another video today, a review that's been years in the making. We are finally going to go through the full review of the EOTech 512 holographic weapon sight. Let's check it out. First things first, always, we're clear and safe. Finally, we are going to go through an optic that I bought in December of 2020. This sight, of course, being the EOTech 512 holographic weapon sight. If you want to see a full unboxing of this sight from a couple years ago, we've got it here on the channel. This is the box it comes in. It's a nice little Pelican style case. That includes everything you need from the sight itself, a set of batteries, a couple different options for mounting. I've got the thumb screw on there right now, but it also comes with an Allen screw and then a little quick guide card that gives you everything you really need to know out in the field. Before we get into the pros and cons of this optic, we'll go through a quick rundown of all the features that this EOTech has to offer. First things first, of course, is what everybody knows EOTech for, and that is their reticle. You get the single 1 MOA dot in the center of a cardinal direction pronged outer 68 MOA circle. And it's actually designed in such a way that if you zero your single MOA dot at a 5200 zero, at 7 yards, your holdover will be the base of that 68 MOA circle. It's a really cool system. That reticle can be adjusted in half MOA increments per click, which are made via these very large adjustment knobs here on the side of the optic. You can use anything almost to adjust them. Most sights, you have to have a precision screwdriver. However, the EOTech, the adjustment knobs are so large and tactile, you can actually use the back of a 223 or 300 blackout casing, for example, 9mm casing, anything like that. You can just slot it into those grooves and click away, and the clicks are tactile enough that you can adjust it without any major tools, something I really like. The holographic sight itself has 20 different brightness settings, 0 are night vision on this particular optic. Again, this is the 512, it is the entry optic, so there is no night vision settings. It is only daytime brightness. What sets holographic weapon sights apart from LEDs is how the mechanism works. We went into that video in another video we did on a red dot versus holographic weapon sight. We will link that as well to go with a full in-depth. This particular optic is ran off of 2 AA batteries that sit in the front housing. That's why this thing is so long. So they are set basically straight parallel with one another to the optic body. EOTech claims that you can get 2200 hours of battery out of those 2 AA's at 12 brightness setting at room temperature. On from that, it is water resistant up to 10 feet or 3 meters. And of course, as we know of EOTech stuff, it is made right here in the USA. So I'm going to go into the full pros and cons list of this entire optic. However, I'll give you the short of it first. I've had it for over 2.5 years. This is an amazing optic. It's a great value optic. I love it. I would highly recommend it. But if you want to know more about exactly why and what I've encountered, stick around. First off, we will go through the pros side. So that way you get everything good up front. So first things first on the pros is going to be the build quality. I mean, all in all, this optic, nothing, if you shake the optic, nothing rattles, nothing moves, it all fits perfect. It's awesome. There's not even a hint of subpar quality, even down to something as simple as the glue on the outside of the lens, which some optic companies will kind of do haphazardly, where you still get a seal and it functions exactly how you want it to. However, it can be messy around the outer edge. The glue on the outside of this EOTech is perfect. It's just down to that detail of how good this is put together and what quality it has. Even down to the elevation and windage adjustments when you're zeroing in the optic with a shell casing of all things. The clicks are very audible, very tactile, and very easy to tell when you're making a click. It's just a very easy optic to get to grips with. And in a world today where we're getting more and more sloppy with our adjustments on optics, some of them have a lot of play in them, some of them don't even have any clicks at all, it's always great to come back to this and get what an optic adjustment process should be. And that is easy to adjust, easy to zero back in no matter what. Not only does the quality stay in the aluminum and steel housing, it also goes into the glass. EOTechs have amazing clarity in the glass. Now obviously it's going to get dirty, you're going to have smudges from water on it or whatever when you're shooting in the rain, and then you're going to be able to tell that there's some glass there, but that's not what I mean. But the simple clarity of the glass, as you can see by the look of it, if you're familiar with EOTech or holographic weapon sights, you know that this is a fully enclosed emitter and optic system. Obviously, since it is a holographic weapon sight, a laser projected reticle instead of an LED projected reticle, which has a lot of advantages. If the front pane of glass is cracked, punctured, obscured, whatever, as long as you have a surface that you can see that reticle through, then wherever that reticle lines up, it is going to work. Now, some people say on holographic weapon sight style optics, you do get a fuzzy reticle. Personally, I don't see that too often. It is kind of more, instead of being a solid image, I would describe it as you can tell it's kind of gritty, might be the example from the laser emitting system, whereas it's fine points together as opposed to one solid light. And you can kind of see this in the picture that even EOTech has on their website. It's kind of gritty looking, but that's not really a complaint of mine. What some people complain about is with EOTechs and this style of optic or holographic style optics is if you have an astigmatism, which I do, because it can bloom or starburst from multiple points. And since they're projected lasers that are all single points, you have a lot of single points that would starburst if you have a bad astigmatism. Whereas an LED, you would only have the one because it's the one light. I don't have this issue even though I have astigmatism on normal operation. The only time where this becomes a little bit more of an issue for me is if I turn the optic all the way to max brightness, which then it's just such an intensity that I can see the little starburst coming off from it. But that being said, I don't hold that against this optic because even in the brightest sun down at the range, I have never had to have this optic at its highest setting. I mean, it's almost an unreal intensity. I usually keep mine down between the 10 to 15 range on the brightness settings, and I'm always fine. There's no blooming. It is extremely crisp. Now, I can't say that's the way it's going to be for everybody. Your mileage may vary. Astigmatism affects different people in different ways. Big thing is, make sure that if you do plan on picking one of these up, you go check it out to make sure it's not going to affect your eyesight. Going on from there with this massive window size that you get on this EOTech. The EOTech has kind of come to be known as the king of CQB optics, and it very much holds up. You get an amazing reticle, which is accompanied by an amazing field of view that you can do both eye open shooting really easily. Now, if you get it above, for example, say 100 yards, and you start using a magnifier to help you out, then your field of view is obviously going to be constricted, but the optic on its own is amazing field of view. Back to talking a little bit about this housing. It is a steel and aluminum combined housing for different parts of the optic. It's built like a tank. I mean, for 2.5 years of use, you can only tell a few places of scuffs. I mean, we haven't babied this optic, but we haven't absolutely put it through the ringer and shot it with a shotgun either. But under normal use, and use in every sense of the word of you don't baby it whatsoever, it's perfect. Now, that includes running it in the rain, running it in the snow, running it in mixed conditions, running it in extreme heat. I mean, it's truly built like a tank in every sense of the word. And that's why a lot of people use these optics all the time. They're huge duty optics for law enforcement and military alike is because of their durability. So with that, you know why it's great, and you know why I like it. Now, what do I tolerate because I like it so much? In other words, what's a con? First and foremost, a con is the battery life. Battery life on this is not very good compared to the modern standard of an optic, which often you can see upwards of 50,000 hours on a battery. Now, in perfect conditions, EOTech says that the AA's of an alkaline battery, not a lithium, it'll last 2,200 hours, 2,500 with lithium, but 2,200 hours at alkaline. Brightness setting 12 in room temperature conditions. Oftentimes at the range, you're not going to get room temperature conditions, and you're going to be running this either when it's really hot or really cold, because we can never go to the range on a day when it seems like it's neither one or the other. Now for storing it, it'll be great if it's always on, because then you'll get the perfect battery life. But when you're out with it and you're out at the range, its battery life's going to be pretty rough. The big thing is it tells you when it's running low, because the reticle will blink when you turn it on. So that way you'll know that the battery's running low. And it's really something you can plan around because it's AA batteries. However, if you're using an EOTech as an example of maybe a backpack gun or something like that, you can turn the auto off after a few hours off anyway if you have this on a for example, a duty weapon or something like that. That's not what I'm using this for at the moment, so obviously I don't have that on there to conserve some batteries. But you can keep that always on, and then you can kind of plan around that 2200 hour, or maybe you switch it 1500 hour, whatever works for you, but you can keep it always on, and it's very easy to get AA batteries. It's really not that big of a deal, especially for everything else you're getting. Number two, may be a con for some people, it may not. However, I wanted to bring it up, is the weight. The weight of the EOTech 512 is one of the bigger holographic weapon sights. It is about almost 12 ounces, it's 11.5 ounces. That can be pretty heavy on top of some guns, depending on what you're using. It can make things pretty top heavy pretty quickly, especially if you pair it with a magnifier. You may start to think that you're getting sluggish with your gun because it's getting heavy, especially if you start adding stuff on the front like lights. It can get heavy pretty quick. So it's something to think about. I actually prefer it on this 16-inch AR. I think the balance of the rifle is a lot better, and I like it a lot more on a 16-inch AR, even though it is the king of CQB reticle. I have found that I like it more on this than I did on my 11.5-inch AR pistol or my Scorpion as well. And the Scorpion was even more because the lower half of the Scorpion is polymer, and then I had this heavy sight sitting on top, so you could tell in maneuvering that a lot of your center of gravity was getting higher as opposed to staying more in the center of the weapon system where you want it. If you want for comparison, a HS510C, which Trevor runs on his AR, is about, actually it is 4.8 ounces I believe, which is just under half of what the EOTech's 512's weight is, so something to consider. And the last thing that I don't know why it is included, I'm not sure at all why it's not, but this lacks an auto on feature or a shake awake feature that a lot of red dots nowadays have. However, it does have an auto off feature. It doesn't have an auto on, but it has an auto off after a set of time if you don't touch the buttons. So it's not an accelerometer or anything that's in there that senses when you shake it awake. It's just on a timer if you don't touch the buttons. That's one thing that I severely want in an EOTech. If EOTech ever released a 512 with an auto on, I would not hesitate to get that at all. So what did we pay for this? You can find these for under $400, and that blows my mind that you can get this kind of tank of an optic for under $400. To put into perspective, an RMR for a pistol is $450, an SRO is $500 or more. A Holosun pistol red dot is almost up to $400 now. So would I recommend the EOTech HWS 512? I would recommend you going to a retailer and look at it for yourself first, to make sure your eyes work with it. Some people's eyes don't. You should probably go in and check yourself to make sure that it works for you. If it doesn't, I would much rather you be able to go in and look through it first. But in my experience, I love this optic. I will continue using this optic. I will continue supporting this optic. I can't say enough good things about it, and on the bad things you can plan around, and I think that's perfect. That's gonna about do it for this video, guys. Let us know what you think in the comment section down below. What do you think about EOTechs or holographic weapon sights in general? Do you prefer red dots over holos or the other way around? Let us know in the comment section down below. If you have any questions about these sights or how they compare to red dots, of course we've got that previous video we did comparing them to red dots, but ask those in the comment section down below and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. This has been Chandler with Range Day, where every day is range day. Have a good one, guys.
Try a little spontaneity in your life, people. It helps with a lot of things.
Like what?
I'm gonna try this on one.